So up next, we
Hi everyone, this is Fiaura. My hard drive seems to have messed up, and now we're on part 2.
yes, we had to do a little bit of re-recording, so we do apologise if there's any difference in the audio quality, but it shouldn't affect any of the information we're providing for you. So next up on our list, we have the Talon of Horus, the personal weapon of both Horus and Abaddon the Despoiler. It's a large lightning claw with an integrated storm bolter, which is essentially two bolt guns bolted together.
Okay, so I don't believe we've actually gone over lightning claws yet. Allow me to explain these. They're basically the enhanced brass knuckle version of power fists. We get a very good idea of what a power fist does and how it deals massive amounts of damage to people, but also with equal and opposite reaction laws. You tend to kill the user. Well, lightning claws are going to do a lot more damage to the opponent, but still you're going to have the problem of the recoil of the power fist being diverted into your arm. I mean, you're going to have a much better focus point with the claws, where the power field is going to divert itself to much smaller areas of impact, resulting in better armor penetration. However, when you put a gun on this, it would seem like it would be fairly easy. Power fists are freaking huge! Lightning claws are even bigger versions of this. Space Marines standing next to Imperial Guard, I believe their power fist is roughly the size of his human torso. This means that there's plenty of room to install a weapon, plenty of recoil compensation, and enough impact absorption to be able to fire it continuously, with all of the shit built into the power fist to keep the user from killing themselves. However, the weapon itself is going to take significant amounts of damage in close combat. It is now having to absorb the impact of the power fist as well as the user. Bolters were not made to absorb that kind of damage, as we can reflect in the fluff. When a power fist punches a bolter, it tends to break very quickly. Furthermore, the power field is going to superheat the area around the fist, meaning the bolter barrel is already going to be superheated. The more it fires, the more the barrel is going to warp and eventually outright melt. So you have a very ingenious weapon on the surface, but at the start of the battle, you're going to start to immediately see a decrease in weapon accuracy until the weapon flat out refuses to fire.
Fair enough then. Okay, next up we have the Ether Lance, which is going to be the first of the weird warp-based weapons we're going to be trying to take a look at. Now, the Ether Lance is a gateway for warp power to search into the material realm. It can be potent in both close combat and ranged combat. Bolts of deadly warp energy leap from the weapon over a wide area or lure enemies onto the lance itself.
Huh. Well, are you guys ready for this one? I have no idea. I've worked on this with 3 professors in different fields of physics. We tested out quantum theory. We tested out gravity theories. We tested out black hole ideas. We bounced around particle physics and could not, for the life of us, figure out how this weapon worked. As a matter of fact, one of the professors has told me that since there's only 2 weeks of school left, he is making a challenge to any of his students. If they can suggest a plausible enough theory, they can get out of the final exam if they can figure out a theory of how this weapon actually works.
Well, it's certainly a good incentive, isn't it?
It's a very good incentive, but it's kind of hilarious that a tabletop weapon is somehow suddenly a debate in a physics class.
In essence, the warp did it. Okay, so next up we have the Lash of Torment, the signature whip of Lucius the Eternal, made from the still living and sentient tongues of fiends of Slanesh, fashioned into a whip that rives with its own sentience, ensnaring foes and rasping flesh from bone.
So, little known fact, you can actually make whips out of tongues. They can be leathered and turn flexible enough material to make a whip out of it. Considering the leather and properties of daemonette tongues, I could totally...
Fiends, not daemonettes.
Oh, fiends? Then I could totally see this being a real weapon used for torture and causing massive amounts of discomfort. In most cases, demon flesh reacts very poorly to humans, ranging from catching people on fire to instantly giving a lethal disease or causing so much pain upon contact that you scream out at the top of your lungs and pass out from the shock. As a weapon, whips are generally, however, not very effective, and they've never been used as a major military weapon in history. They're an exotic weapon, and since whips usually do lots of surface flesh damage and don't usually kill the person so much as leave them scarred, I could totally see a champion of chaos going into battle swinging a whip at you.
Especially one champion of Slanesh.
But while this will cause massive gashes in the flesh and possibly cause large amounts of scarring, it's not going to stop someone from hacking his head off or shooting him in the chest a few times. The weapon simply is not whips are simply not made nor designed to actually cause deadly injury.
At best, they could probably incapacitate or maybe disarm if the user's skilled enough, but not really much else.
Pretty much.
That being said, even if you disarm your opponent, that means they'll open for you to finish them off with like your other hand holding a blade.
Yeah, actually.
Alright, so moving away from all the fancy distracting with whips and that to just smashing someone over the head with a skull breaker, which is a power maul blessed by the blood god Khorne. Each thunderous crack of the weapon bends and twists the fabric of reality, damaging and stunning enemies unfortunate enough to be near the epicenter.
Have you ever been sick, like car sick, or sick from your method of travel? This weapon is bending the fabric of reality, causing you to traverse between the warp and materium in a way that not only is unnatural, but your body's not designed to adjust to that. The stunning and damaging effects of just being near this weapon will be equivalent to diving sickness, astronaut sickness, or flat out having huge, overpowering amounts of whiplash. In addition to being a power weapon, this thing is crackling with demonic energy that can cause you to bleed from every orifice, or much worse things that Khorne can devise for you, such as bursting into flames with the right amount of electrical current from the power field it generates, and mixing with the heat and chemicals of your body to cause spontaneous human combustion.
That's certainly impressive, if nothing else.
What that combination of chemicals and things are to cause SHC, I could not actually tell you, since it's simply a theory and not yet proven nor fully understood as to how it actually happens. Furthermore, I mean, you really can't fight someone with this weapon because they could swing near you and it's going to be enough to throw the balance off with your body to literally just knock you over as you're unable to maintain standing from, say, space sickness or gravity changes that cause your eardrums to pop.
Something more akin to something like decompression sickness or something like that, or the bends.
Yeah, your eyes could actually pop out of your head from being near this weapon. Not a pleasant experience.
No. And these weapons just seem to be getting worse, because next up we have the Plague Sword, a rusty yet incredibly sharp blade coated in a film of poisonous pus and slime, likely to kill anyone it infects who don't die from the initial strike.
Okay, it's a sword. A simple two-handed death weapon dipped in a vat of every known disease from the 40k universe that one would not want to possess. I mean, it's really that simple. There are records of people actually having disease spread from one person to another that are normally spread sexually or through blood-related illnesses by being cut with a sword, and then the infected person infecting someone else because the sword was not cleaned of their blood during battle. This weapon is simple, has a precedent, and is actually capable of causing massive amounts of damage since it's a demon power-fielded power sword, in addition to the fact that any wounds you get from it are no longer survivable even if they're treated, because you're going to be infected with Nurgle knows what, and you're never going to overcome that shit.
Yeah, because there was even a documented incident during the flight of the Eisenstein. Solon Decius got basically cut with a plague knife, basically, a knife version of this weapon. The infection travelled up his arm. he cut his arm off at the elbow to try and halt the infection, and it didn't stop even after he cut his arm off. So that's just how virulent these things are. It's not a good way to go.
No, it is not.
I mean, the only way he ended up surviving is because he gave his soul to Nurgle and became a giant fly. No, really, that happened. Yeah. But then Garrett killed him, so it was all good. Anyway, spoilers. Sorry.
Spoilers, everyone! We're giving them out now on Men at Arms 2.
And finally, the last one we're going to be looking at today is a weapon normally mounted on Chaos Space Marine Dreadnoughts and Hellbrutes, the Power Scourge. Now, these are basically a set of jointed metal arms tipped with metallic blades that crackle with barely contained energy. In battle, the Power Scourge lashes wildly, cutting and slashing at anything that gets close.
Alright. So, wildly impractical and similar to nunchucks on swords with whips attached. For those who don't know, nunchucks are a made-up Hollywood weapon. They are grossly ineffective at blocking, and they reduce the reach of the user rather than extend it. Furthermore, flails are actually a 17th century invention and were never used in medieval warfare. They were used for decorative purposes and for torture, not for actually going out into the battlefield, because it's really tiring to swing one of those around your head. And once it hits the first time, it takes a second to wind it back up. This has a complete lack of control for everyone and a disregard for any coherent fighting style. As someone who has a 3rd degree black belt in Kendo and weapon arts, I would not wish to face nor wield this weapon ever, unless I had a suicidal wish. Which, to be honest, the Space Marines put into their dreadnoughts probably want to die.
Yeah, because in fairness, Chaos Space Marines do view being interred into a dreadnought as a fate worse than death.
So, in fairness, they probably wouldn't mind if that weapon whipped around and broke the sarcophagus seal and killed them. But I don't see this as being a very effective close combat weapon, because a regular Imperial Space Marine dreadnought with its claw could block this weapon and then proceed to rip apart the other dreadnought with its other hand. Or shoot it with its assault cannon or its multi-melta or what have you it has equipped. The point is, the weapon is just... it's not a good idea. Nunchucks and flails are not good ideas to be used as melee weapons. Particularly multi-ended flails or multi-sided nunchucks. You're more likely to destroy the user than you are to actually hurt the person you're trying to beat the shit out of. And pardon my French, but it's 2 a.m. here and we're having to re-record this because apparently one of my hard drives may be having an issue.
You just need to pray to the Omni sign or it'll be fine.
I shall summon the Adeptus Mechanicus to repair this problem.
Just spray the sacred unguents. And that pretty much concludes this episode of Men at Arms. So join us next time where we'll be taking a more in-depth look at the Adeptus Mechanicus. Speaking of them, I know. So anyway, this has been Remlace from 40k Theories.
And this has been Fiaura. I have gladly linked him in the description of the channel, and I hope he's doing the same thing for me over there. And you guys can see the previous Men at Arms video here, and down below that you can actually link back to the first part of this one. See you later.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.